Alright, y'all, what's poppin'? We back at it again with the comments. Y'all know this is, like I told y'all, my favorite video to make. This is when we go through the comments, see some of the best ones, some of the most intriguing ones. Like I told you guys, I appreciate every time you comment, and I think this is a way I can show my appreciation, where I really do enjoy looking at what you guys are saying. It's a lot going on right now, okay? From the time I make the last comment video, I go back to the video right after that, and we just go through and get some of the best comments, okay? Again, it's a lot going on in regards to One Piece. Something that just came out recently that I thought about making a video. I'm gonna just tell y'all right now, where basically for all the colors of the anime, Oda and Shueisha, they tell the anime studio the colors and all the explosions and all that special shit to use, right? So when we see how crazy things are going in the anime, I think even in the anime, King has a blue flame. So with that, it's like, that's specifically requested. Thought that was cool as hell. One Piece film red, all this different stuff. But without further ado, let's get into the comments, because again, I appreciate you guys tuning in, watching, liking, subscribing. And with that being said, if you haven't subscribed, now is the time to do so. If you do subscribe, let me know below. You might get a shout out in the next comments video, who knows? But yeah, without further ado, let's get to the comments. So we have Don Quixote. I'm not sure if that's the real guy, but he says, I feel like Shanks is an anti-hero, and to a certain extent may be conflicted in his path. Like you said, I think he's holding the world together by supporting an evil to protect the world from a greater evil. So the evil is Celestial Dragon's world government, the greater evil is Blackbeard rocks, whatever. He said he believes that Luffy could be the one to discover the truth in the world and act on it, unlike what Roger, while ushering in a world that is better than the last one. I think when they meet again, it might be his legitimate enemies, or at the very least, he won't be going easy on them. But in the end, when he's beaten by Luffy, he'll be happy at that outcome. Appreciate that comment, because Shanks in this world doesn't make sense. Seemingly for pirates, right? You go through the world and you get to a point where you know your place. But for the Yonko, they always seem to have crazy ambition, and the strength comes from that ambition. For Shanks, he has crazy strength, but in regards to ambition, we don't know what that is. Shanks is the first Yonko we ever met. We didn't know he was a Yonko at the time, but he's the first Yonko we ever met, and we still don't know what he wants. He doesn't seem to want anything. Every action he's made, it seems to be selfless. But for right now, we don't know. We could say selfless, but for instance, him going after Whitebeard or going to Whitebeard talking about Blackbeard, is that really selfless? How does he benefit from that? Is it just really about the world? Because that's incredible, right? For you to be going through the world and you're just like, I just want to maintain this world until Luffy is ready. Something I thought about after reading Don Quixote's comment is, Shanks probably is going to test Luffy when they meet again. He's going to have to test Luffy and see where he is, right? Because if I'm saying, come back to me when you're a great pirate, the first thing I'm doing is I'm pulling up on you with my sword, like, what's up? I'm blitzing you. For Yasop, I'm shooting at Usopp. For Ben Beckman, here's the thing. I'm not sure if Zoro's going to be ready by the next time they come about, because I presume it's going to be after Wano and Zoro's going to be beaten up badly because of that pill. You feel me? So Shanks is different. Shanks is an outlier in so many different ways. We don't know true motives. Like for Kaido, we just figured out Kaido's backstory and him with King and how he used to be optimistic and ambitious, and something changed along the way. We don't know a lot about these people. We know about Big Mom, and we know about Whitebeard for the most part. We know more about Kaido than Shanks. Shanks is, Oda said it in his excerpt about One Piece Film Red in the Jump Festa message. Shanks is pretty much still a mystery. The mystery grew after we saw him with the Gorosei, because it's like, all right, what's going on here? Where does your allegiance lie? I mean, we still think everything he does in the best interest of Luffy, because there's so many different ways he could have betrayed Luffy or manipulated Luffy. He gave him the hat, he risked his arm or sacrificed his arm. Personally, I believe he's genuine, but you just never know. Shanks, I can't wait to find out more, probably next year. Once One Piece Film Red comes out, we'll get some more about that. So great comment, I appreciate that. Reggie said, something I always wondered was whether or not Roger had territory. I may be mistaken, but I don't think that was ever mentioned. Hell, we heard Roger snuck into Big Mom's area and was able to obtain some information from her poneglyph. He obviously sailed there, but from where? Where did Roger call home in his territory? I'm honestly starting to think him and his crew just lived on a ship. No real territory to lay his head at, or even under his protection. Again, I could be mistaken. Recently, Oda revealed that Shanks does indeed have a large fleet. The people that we see all the time, those are just the executives. So for me, I think Roger's is the same way, right? I saw people saying that you don't want territories, it ties you down, whatever. No, Roger had territory. It just hasn't really been fleshed out yet. Of course he had territory. He was somebody that was sailing the seas, going to all these different places. Where he laid his head was a ship, for sure. He's a pirate, but he did have territory. Places that he probably owned, places that were protected because of him. But remember, back then, it was a different era, it's a different world altogether. Like for White, but he got his secret island, his place that he protects. Roger, I'm sure it's the same thing, but we got to be mindful. After Roger died, I'm sure the world government, they were like, nah, we got to eradicate all these places. Somebody else had to step up, probably Whitebeard, right? But yeah, it's never been revealed, but I think 100% Roger had territory. Good observation though. Tomo said, I think you're not getting what the Pirate King means to Luffy as opposed to everyone else. Luffy's special because he believes in freedom more than anyone else, more specifically the freedom of his Nakama and himself. Remember, Luffy's no hero. Heroes have to give up their meat to the people they save, while Luffy would never give up his meat. That sounded weird, but I feel him. Luffy's the perfect pirate. He's passionate, aloof, selfish, foolish, but more than anything everything else he is fun. He's always doing the thing that entertains him the most at any given time. He understands that the treasure is about the journey, not the destination. Luffy don't understand none of that shit. For Luffy, you can say he's selfish from time to time. I wouldn't say he's a perfect pirate. He's the perfect MC for One Piece. The perfect pirate, what does that really mean in the grand scheme of things? Like Luffy's a perfect pirate? Hell no. Luffy makes terrible decisions over and over and over and over. For One Piece, he's the perfect MC. The perfect pirate in One Piece, I think, is Blackbeard, right? Because Blackbeard, he's somebody that's calculated, he's taking what he wants, and he's been moving through the world because for him, it's about the destination. You can't lose sight of the destination. The journey's cool. Like you want to have a good time in the meantime, but the destination is way more important. Like you want to enjoy yourself, but I think for shonen purposes, it's always about the journey and experiences. Even in real life, right? Where the journey, the goal is to make as much money as possible. At the end of the day, if I could get to the point where I can make as much money as possible as soon as possible, I'm gonna do that. I'm not gonna want to go through the journey and get fired and get hired here and here. I'm trying to get to the bag. I'm gonna say this, as a YouTuber, getting to where I am now, I really enjoyed the journey. I think getting to where I am now, it wasn't necessarily about the destination because I didn't really have one. I was just about enjoying myself with my guys. On Brago DH, we did a lot of live streams and it was about, okay, I wasn't thinking, oh, I want 100,000 subscribers. I didn't think that at all. It was just like, I want to have a good ass time tonight. I want to have a 5-hour stream. I just want to have a good ass time. And we did that pretty much every night. And then things have started getting better, but it's different, right? It's different when things transform and things become a bit more serious. And I don't think there's a serious switch for Luffy until somebody gets hurt, you know? So Luffy's the perfect pirate for One Piece, I think. Luffy's the perfect MC, the perfect MC. Pirate, I think, is somebody that goes after what they want, get what they want, and is able to achieve their dreams, right? Roger, you could say. For Whitebeard, there's several flaws you can talk about, but for Luffy being the perfect pirate, I think for Luffy, it's easy to say that because we're jaded. He's the pirate we've been following. When I think of a pirate, I gotta look at Blackbeard, bro. That's who I look at. I mean, you guys can let me know in the comments section who you think the perfect pirate is, but I think it's Blackbeard. Luffy's a perfect MC. How One Piece is built, the story, how it's cultivated, what it means, freedom, dreams, it's catered around Luffy and Roger, that type of thinking. But I understand what you're saying, though. I do. Warlord had a great comment. He said there are two ways to have the tallest building in the world. One, build the tallest building in the world, or two, destroy all other buildings. Roger managed to become the Pirate King the right way, but right now pirates like Kaido and Big Mom are trying the second method, destroy all opposition and be the last one standing. I'm not sure if I can agree with that necessarily because the right way is what? Basically being the first one, right? Everybody can be the first person to do this. Saying Roger did it the right way is kind of disregarding how things are today. The right way is like Roger didn't defeat everybody to become the Pirate King. That isn't what he did. He traversed the seas, right? And he figured it out, got help from Whitebeard by giving him Odin. All these different things happen. Is that the right way? I don't think there's no right way. It's just your way. I think it's your way. I don't think Blackbeard is the wrong way. I think Luffy's a more glorified way because that's what we see. That's what we want. We see the Straw Hat. We see their journey. I used to think that the right way was Luffy defeating every Yonko by himself to become the Pirate King. That's not what's going to happen. Again, Roger didn't defeat everyone to become the Pirate King. That's not what it was about. It was about the journey, figuring it out. And again, relationships. If him and Whitebeard didn't respect each other the way they did, Whitebeard would have never agreed to give him Odin. No way. Big Mom and Kaido, they just got to do it the way they know how. And for them, it's allying. The world government back then was not as strong and fortified as they are now. Today, the Marines, they're much more calculated. They have more things in place. Marineford has moved. They have more control over the world. It's different. The Yonko system, now they're opposing forces going after the same thing, where for the most part, Roger was the only thing chasing what he was after, which is special in its own right, but it's different. So it's hard to compare different eras. You know, Johnny Nugent said, don't slander Roger, bro. His crew and other people that looked up to him could have easily saved him, but his crew truly believed that the next generation would create a bigger wave and spark a flame to keep the pirate era alive. It's not slander by saying that nobody cares about the Pirate King, meaning nobody cares about that title necessarily, because what does it mean to you? We've seen Kaido's backstory now where for the most part, he wanted to be Joy Boy. Now Kaido is just about his war. And the thing is, him and Big Mom are going after it, but they have other priorities and they feel like that's just a way to get to, and they feel like they feel like that's just a way to get to it. It's not necessarily about that. So no slander. I will never slander Roger. He's the GOAT. Come on, bro. Belogski22 says, Kid gives Smoker a run for his money in terms of lack of creativity for their Devil Fruit. Kid could easily make a huge drill to add piercing damage to his attack. He can also replicate Bellamy's Spring Devil Fruit and make actual springs to increase his speed. So much potential for a Devil Fruit, and what does he do? He makes a huge hand and slam people with it. Hey, yo, that's some funny shit, okay? It's funny because I agree with you. Kid could be more creative. I don't know. Maybe it's coming. Smokers, well, I mean, yeah, I agree. Hour and 2 hours to this thing. This right here is my spirit animal when I was watching Kid during Roof Piece. That's some funny shit. People only mad at Kid because Wano killed their headcanon of Luffy rivals being above Zoro. Smoker, Law took a while, Kid, every other supernova. Nigga, like, this is not about Zoro. How did he make this as... Man, I don't know how you make that shit about Zoro. Persithea says, oh man, unfortunate this came before 1035, but can't wait to see a reaction to the chapter tomorrow. So I would say this, after 1035, would I change anything with my top 10? in Wano. I had Zoro higher already. I probably put Sanji higher. I had Sanji at 10. I probably put Sanji higher. I think I'd keep it the same for the most part, but I put Sanji higher. I had Sanji at 10. Would King fall? Would I put Sanji above King? I don't know. I'd have to think about it, but I'm loving my list. Natalia Gamer says, it's your list and I respect that. Is that the Beast Pirates are a meritocracy, so King and Queen earned their position. Also, no other Beast Pirate have shown they come close to competing with those two. And just like Big Mom's crew and the Yonko crew, I don't see one commander no diffing or mid diffing another commander, especially these two. Always shown together, talk shit to each other, talk shit to Jack. I don't see the gap between these two being big or substantial at all. A high diff for both, so although I disagree with the ranking placement as they should be next to each other, Queen 10, King 9, just like Zoro and Sanji 8 and 7. Leaving Queen out so far from King is kind of disrespectful, not including Marco, of course. Zoro didn't unlock Conqueror's Haki, but that isn't an insta win, and it doesn't overshadow the feats Law and Kid is showing against a fresher Yonko. Competing, reacting, tanking, actually hurting, putting her down and making her use her own lifespan to get stronger is above Zoro and Yamato's Conqueror's Haki. So people can't say Law or Kid wouldn't be able to hang physically with those two when they are hanging with a Yonko. Yamato held off Kaido, did no damage. Zoro cut Kaido, he shrugged it off, gave him props and moved along. And here's his list. Great video, keep up the good work. Hopefully you read my comment on the next comment video. Well, you got it, Natalia Gamer. I read your comment. So I'll say this, fair points, fair points. It's hard to judge these two when they're fighting together. Okay, and one thing I know for a fact is that if Law was fighting with Zoro, it's hard to not see them doing better. You know, Kid, of course, he's done things to hold Big Mom in place for Law to get his attacks off. For King and Queen, it's hard to say that they're close because it's almost like saying Katakuri and Smoothie are close. Granted, we've seen more from Queen than we ever saw from Smoothie, and especially how the fights went. I'm taking King over Queen pretty easily. I think Queen needs more setup, more preparation, and with that, he can be devastating. I'm not mad at your list, right? Because you have people pretty close. You have Kid and Law significantly over Yamato and Zoro because they're fighting a Yonko, but they're doing it together. But I'm not mad at your list. I'm really not mad at it at all. Seriously. Michael King says, I agree with everything except I'd put Marco above Zoro and Yamato until we get more feats from them. I don't see either of those two handling two of the strongest commanders we've seen at the same time until Zoro can better control Ashura and Enma. That's a good point, but for Marco, we gotta factor in his devil fruit, right? Where for him, it's all about outlasting him. We saw versus Kizaru, he just let Kizaru's attacks go right through him, but he has a limit, right? So he's gonna tank as much as possible. He's gonna be able to do things where it's like, okay, how do we beat this guy? He's a nuisance, right? He's a lot to deal with, but ultimately, right now it might be tough because Zoro has a time limit, but I don't think Marco can overwhelm Zoro before Zoro uses Enma mode, pretty much. Once Zoro goes into Enma mode, once Marco starts to wear down, because Zoro has, you know, insane durability, insane endurance, and he can wait till the last moment to use that mode. Because when he goes to Dragon Damnation, I'm sorry, Marco, I don't know about you right there. I don't know if we can judge it and say, well, can Zoro hold off King and Queen at the same time? Because Marco has a special set of skills where he can do that. He can take all this damage and regenerate. It's different. You know, for Zoro, how much of that is Queen taking? And now he knows King's secret. How long is that fight gonna go? Samuel Ivy says, I enjoyed the Sanji fight ending quickly. Zoro's been breezing through the new world, so I'm completely fine with Sanji breezing through a fight, especially now that he's got his superhero body. Yes, I did a collab the other day and we talked about the same things, where Zoro's been cruising through the new world, or breezing through the new world. Now Sanji, he's been struggling a bit, right? So now it's kind of flipped where Sanji gets maybe an easier fight and Zoro had a tough matchup. So yeah, I agree with that. Christian Joful Bassett says, my only complaint on Sanji versus Queen is that the fight feels rushed because there's not a lot of clashes, unlike Zoro versus King's fight. It feels a bit weird because we haven't seen everything together, like the entire picture. Once we see that, it feels like, okay, it's not necessarily a back and forth, but Queen did get some hits in, but Sanji dominated. I mean, if you go through the entire fight, Queen had some moments, but there's never a moment where I felt like Sanji was in danger. And that's the main issue, considering how much we've been waiting for Sanji to fight a commander. We've been talking about Sanji versus Queen before Wano, or we've been talking about Sanji versus Queen ever since they were introduced, because that's how it goes. Zoro fights King, Sanji fights Queen, and whomever would fight Jack. It didn't live up to the hype. That's it. Was it a bad fight? No. Did it live up to the hype? No, that's not okay. It's not the end of the world. John Wallace says, we literally had the same thought on Kaido's look to King because I got chills low key. 11 out of 10 for the chapter. Do you think you could theorize on how King's abilities work? So I had a whole thing when I was talking to Sensei. I think King's abilities could work like Nen, right? Where it's an application where for King, when the fire is on, it's basically spread throughout his entire body. So it's like a defensive mechanism. Maybe it could be natural, maybe it could be inherent because he's a Lunarian. But I do think when the fire goes out, it is being propelled elsewhere. Maybe it's to his legs, right? Maybe that's when his leg strength is at its most powerful. But I do think it works like that, where the haki or the fire, it is used as a propulsion and protection. And I'm mostly referencing Nen. That's my headcanon as to how it works. Sanish Singh said, when Kaido said, I'll never sell you out, it makes me think that he has some sort of trauma regarding being betrayed. Plus, it may also involve persecution because of his race, because he told Yamato a couple chapters ago that she's the son of Onis, daughter of Onis, and humans will betray her. Also, we finally got a new cover page story about Germa. Hopefully we get some more lore about them. Yes, Kaido, something happened. How how did he get captured by the world government? Big Mom didn't. I'm assuming. Like, we've never heard about Big Mom being captured. How did he get captured? Whitebeard didn't. Shiki didn't. He was the only one, right? Did they betray him? Did they give him up? Was he too weak? Because he said if they're weak, if people say that you're weak, they will just abandon you. So he definitely has some PTSD. The Germa stuff, I'm really interested in that because they could be involved in the final battle or contribute in some way. So gotta wait and see. And Mr. Bell said King's human design is so fire. It didn't feel like a typical Oda design at all. Yeah, King is beautiful. And I think that means that that's represented by King's lineage. King is an original god of the One Piece world. And when we think of gods and angels, we think of majestic, beautiful. And that's what King is. The Lunarians, they were the original gods of the world. When I say gods, the people atop the red line, maybe not literal gods, but they were regarded as such based on their appearance and where they lived. Maybe they were protected. They were granted, they were bestowed as the protectors of the One Piece world, and then they were overtaken by the celestial dragons because they were beautiful. And the celestial dragons wanted what they had. That's why they experimented on them. That's why they tortured them. And I'm pretty sure we'll come across some people that have Lunarian DNA because they've been experimented on as well. They have come up with a way to use Lunarian DNA to create soldiers. At some point, we will see them. Master Kree says, hearing this makes me think Kaido could end up assisting Luffy to some extent after realizing who he's going to become. I thought about that, right? It's not that crazy, but it's crazy. Can Kaido get over the fact that he's not Joy Boy? Can he get over the fact that he's not Joy Boy and put aside his differences and say, I want to know what Joy Boy has to accomplish? I guess for this video as well, where I talked about Kaido and the dark truth of One Piece, where I talked about the Beast Pirates not being bad people, I meant that they weren't born bad. I don't think anybody's necessarily born bad or born evil. You are manipulated and changed by your experiences, right? What you go through, it creates and molds who you are, even parenting and your parents, right? So things that you know, things that you believe in, it's not how you really feel, right? It's how you were raised, things you've seen. That's why as you grow up, you change, you evolve, because you're starting to see different ways, different things, and you realize, okay, maybe how my parents are doing things were not the way I want to do things anymore. That's why sometimes there's a lot of conflict between your parents, because your parents, they're going off of what their parents taught them, and they kind of revere, and it's a lot of reverence with the things they've learned. So they're like, no, you gotta learn these things too, right? And you're like, no, but I see the world differently now. I don't see it that way. And that's why a lot of times it can be conflict with parents and kids. And typically when the parents are willing to say, I'm wrong, you got it, do what you got to do, live the way you need to live. I'm not sure why I went off on that real world tangent, but your experiences change who you are, and what you've been through, it could give you a realistic view on what's going on in the world, and it could completely change your outlook, right? Even for Shanks, Kaido, Big Mom, things you experience, it molds you. Would Big Mom be the same way if Mother Caramel didn't die? If she didn't disappear? Would she be the same way if she wasn't abandoned? What about Whitebeard? Would he have wanted a family if he wasn't an orphan? What about Kaido? What if he was on a different crew than Rocks? What about Shanks? What if Roger didn't die? It's so many different things. What about Luffy? What if he was not influenced by Shanks? What if Shanks didn't risk his arm? What if Garp gave him a better role model to look up to? It's so many different things, but you are influenced and molded by your situations and how you grew up. And One Piece is a great example of that. And I love when Oda touches on things like that and how people change as they learn more about the world. It's beautiful. It really is. But guys, we reached the end. I love these videos. I wish I could go through more comments. That's why we do them every week. I enjoy you guys' perspective. Please don't stop commenting. You might get lucky. You might just be, the comment of the day, whatever. Thank you so much. Make sure to like the video if you did. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Follow me on Twitter at BrogODAce. Follow me on Instagram at BrogOD.ace. Thank you to my patrons. I appreciate you guys all so much. Again, guys, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
I start doubting me, I felt lost. I rewrite it.